We are one away from quorum. Okay, we have quorum.
Okay, great. So welcome everybody to the May full board meeting of Community Board 8. And we will start off with the public session. So before we do, we'll just go over some of the ground rules for the public session. You'll have only 2 minutes to speak. We're pretty strict about the time limit. You'll be timed. In order to speak in the public session, you need to have signed up online when you were joining the meeting. You can still sign up to speak until 6:45 if you would like to do so. And we ask that if you're called on to speak in the public session, please just let us know where you live, because it's of interest to us to know whether you're in our district or not. So with that, I will turn it over to Will to go over some more of the ground rules for the public session, and we will start calling up folks.
Thanks, Russell. So if you're signed up for the public session, you should be listening for your name as Russell will call your name. What you can do to help us speed up the process is look for the reactions icon on your screen or on your device and press the raise hand button whenever your name is called. You'll notice that right now you're muted. No one can unmute themselves, but whenever your name is called, we will send you a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting. If you're calling in from the phone, it is *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. I will tell everyone that the chat is only available for technical support to help with the Zoom software. It is not ever to ask questions or make comments during any of the meeting. No one will see those chats except for me or my staff. So if you're having problems, you can chat us. If not, we ask you to refrain from putting your comments into the chat. If you're using an older version of Zoom, you may need to go to the participants section where you'll find the raise hand feature there. With that, I'll hand it back over to Russell. And I'll also remind you will have 2 minutes and you will hear a timer go off whenever your time is up.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's start with Matt Bauer, please.
Good evening. Thanks much. Thanks so much for calling. Thanks. Good evening to all of you. Thank you. My name is Matt Bauer. I'm the director of the Madison Avenue Business Improvement District. We have a bunch of things to tell you about, events happening on the Avenue. So this coming Saturday, May 20th, is going to be our annual Madison Avenue Spring Gallery Walk. We have actually 64 galleries here in the neighborhood, from the Fuller Building at 57th Street all the way up to 82nd, that are participating. It's free and open to the public. You could visit MadisonAvenueGalleryWalk.com to see what's on view at each of the galleries. Over 20 are hosting special talks by the curator of the gallery or the one of the artists actually as well. So it's really a lot of fun. You could also, some of you who've maybe not been into the gallery buildings that are on the side streets and grand buildings, mansions that were converted into galleries. It's a lot of fun to experience as well. And I see my colleague from Frick Madison is here, Liz Daly. There's going to be a wonderful activation, rain or weather permitting, of sketching that's going to be taking place in front of the museum from 1 to 3 p.m. Support from Sister Yard, the cafe inside. Also, you'll see on Madison Avenue an installation by the School of Visual Arts in partnership or in support of NYC by Design. We had 18 installations on Madison between 60th and 78th Street. Called Art History 101, A Brush with Fashion, works of art or dresses, each inspired by a different period. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And we have been joined by one of our council members, Julie Menon, so I want to turn it over to her for her report. And welcome.
Thank you so much, Russell, and great to see everyone at CB8. I've got a number of updates that I wanted to mention, but first I just want to thank and give a special acknowledgement to Rami Siegel, who I understand is his last meeting, and he's done such a phenomenal job co-chairing the education committee and everything that he's done. So I really just wanted to come on to give my personal congratulations and well wishes, and thank you for your amazing public service to our community. And then in terms of my update, so smoke shops, I want to, you might have read about the work that our office is doing. We've been very aggressively cracking down on the illegal smoke shops in our neighborhood, specifically Sweet Tooth and Yorkville. Are two in particular. You might have read we had the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection issue dozens and dozens of violations. And then we got the sheriff to come in recently into both stores. We also have, I think, what will be a long-term fix in the council, which is legislation that is going to penalize landlords who rent to these smoke shops. So we're working on that now. That bill is sponsored by Councilmember Lynn Schulman, and I'm one of the co-primes. And so I'm really looking forward to working on that bill. And then I have a bill that mandates that the city do public awareness around these smoke shops and the fact that so many of these products contain illegal chemicals and are marketed to children. So my bill mandates a public awareness campaign similar to what I did when I was Commissioner of Consumer Affairs, when we cracked down on synthetic marijuana in K2 and dealt with that issue. Couple other updates, dog waste. As you may know, we launched a contest to come up with the best advertising campaign around cleanup and curbing after your dog. And so we're going to be announcing the winner of our dog waste campaign next week. We had some amazing submissions, so I hope everyone's going to be excited about what we selected. And then we're really going to be going out very publicly with that design, with that marketing to encourage people to pick up after their dogs. I also want to mention, and I've mentioned this before, I've been working all year on my hospital bill, which mandates that hospitals have to disclose the price of all of their medical procedures. I am so happy to say that that bill is going to be voted on June 8th, and it's going to create the nation's first healthcare accountability office, which discloses all prices of these medical procedures and also has the attendant benefit of allowing the city to find out what we're paying for hospital prices, because right now 10% of the city budget is spent on public sector employee healthcare. And so it's really unsustainable. That $11 billion or 10% of the city budget just 5 years ago was $6 billion. So we can't continue to go down this path. And my bill will allow us to harness the city's purchasing power to drive down healthcare premiums. So wanted to just report on that. Also wanted to mention this Saturday, I'm going to be at our bike helmet giveaway in John Jay Park at 11 o'clock Saturday. Please come by. It's a really wonderful event. We did it last year, and just the attendance and response was incredible. So those, I think, are my updates. And I know we can't take questions now, but if anyone does have any questions, please email or reach out to our office at any time. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right, next, let's go to Elizabeth Rose Daly, please.
Sorry, actually, our borough president is here. So.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, so hang on, and we will turn it to the borough president for his report.
I am here.
Welcome.
Hello, everybody. Hello, CB8. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Will. It's great to see all of you. I want to start by acknowledging that in your mailboxes today, or your email boxes today, many of you should have gotten word about reappointment decisions, and that won't take effect actually until tomorrow. But I really just want to thank everybody who has served. We're saying goodbye to a few people. I'll say more about them in the days ahead, but we're saying goodbye to some folks who have really been amazing on the board. And one of whom I do want to acknowledge is Lynn Shinazaki, who I think I saw on here, who is moving from New York City. And my goodness, what a leader Lynn has been for Roosevelt Island, for CB8. Just so grateful for her service and wishing her all the best on the road ahead. I want to tell you that we're focusing tomorrow in Borough Board on a very important topic, which is the unlicensed cannabis retail locations. We know there's many in CB8. There's many all over. We have over 500 in Manhattan alone, 1,500 citywide. This is a huge problem, impacts public safety. and much more. We have invited the state's Office of Cannabis Management to present tomorrow at Borough Board. These events are open to the public, by the way. You can also stream them live. And we're having them again on Friday at our Borough Service Cabinet meeting. So I know you're going to be represented at Borough Board by your chair, Chair Squire, and that you'll be represented by Will at Borough Service Cabinet. But you can log into the website and watch this online tomorrow if you're interested in the topic. There are new tools that we have at our disposal. The state and the state budget passed new enforcement tools that both the state's Office of Cannabis Management can use and the New York City, including NYPD, can use. So I think we do have more opportunities to rein this in. We need to, for many reasons, on the east side and beyond. And we're going to get an update on the new tools, the new enforcement plan later this week. Also happening this week, join us Friday for our Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month event. It's going to be downtown. We're partnering with Assemblymember Grace Lee. It's going to be at the Manny Cantor Center Friday at 6. I'll see some of you tonight going to the Carnegie Hill Neighbors Association event. And I may see some of you on Saturday when I'll be joining the Muslim volunteers for their cleanup day in Rupert Park. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time in CB8. Looking forward to see all of you out here in the days ahead. I'm going to pause there. That's all for me. Wishing you guys a great meeting tonight. Thanks so much for allowing me to speak. All the best, everybody.
Thank you very much. I also want to note that our own member, Sahar Hussein, is one of the honorees on Friday. So we're very proud of her for that at the AAPI event. All right, next, let's go. So now we will hear from Elizabeth Rose Daly, please.
All right, let's find Elizabeth Rose Daly. Elizabeth Daly. Okay, you should be able to unmute.
Okay, I think I just unmuted. So thank you, Will. Thank you, Russell. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Daly, the Manager of Community and Government Affairs at the Frick Collection. I hope you've had a chance to see our new exhibition, The Gregory Gift, which is a remarkable bequest from the collection of Alexis Gregory, who is the publisher of Vendome Press. It features 28 objects, which range from Limoges enamels, clocks, a rhinoceros horn, and 2 stunning pastels by Roselle Carrière, who was an 18th century Venetian pastel portraitist, one of the best of her age. And the exhibition is open through July 9th. And I want to let you know that on June 1st, we're going to be opening an installation by the Swiss pastel artist Nicolas Party, who will be creating a site-specific work in response to one of those pastels by Roselle Carrière. And that installation will be up until March 3rd next year, when Frick Madison will be closing to the public. And in case you don't already know, I want to let you know that we're offering free admission to youth between the ages of 10 and 17 through the remainder of our temporary residence at Frick Madison. So that will make the museum more accessible than ever. And we're located on Madison Avenue at 75th Street. We're open Thursdays through Sundays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And while you're there, you can also visit the Sister Yard. And also don't forget that every week, Pay What You Wish admission is offered on Thursdays from 4 to 6 p.m. You can visit our website, frick.org, for more information. And I hope to see some of you this Saturday out at the Madison Avenue Gallery Walk. So please all pray for good weather. So thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Andrew Fine.
Thank you, Russell. Few quick topics. Congestion pricing, moving along. Complete disaster for Manhattan. I'm extremely disappointed in our local elected officials for not representing the majority, but acting on behalf of Uber, Lyft, Vera, Mobility, and the special interests that are working by proxy through the bike lobby. Second, in terms of the Transportation Committee, Lexington Avenue has lost their street cleaning since the bus lane was instituted in 2020 during the pandemic. There is no opportunity for street sweepers to get through. I've actually had a positive interaction with Ed Pinkar, so we're working on that. I'd like to introduce the idea, the concept of an e-mobility responsibility bill, where any bike ridden on sidewalks are automatically confiscated. They can be bought back for $500 within 7 days or auctioned off. Second offense is confiscation plus a $200 fine. Second, triple fines for running red lights and riding against traffic. 3 strikes, you're out, bike confiscated. 3, pursue legislation at the state level to reclassify all e-bikes from class 1, 2, or 3, which is e-bikes that basically run 20 to 30 miles an hour, to class B mopeds. These vehicles would be required to be registered and insured. Additionally, all class B vehicles should be required to pass inspection. That inspection would include inspection of the battery to make sure the battery is either original equipment manufacturer or UL compliant. We need to stop the e-bike battery fires. Fake or no plates should be confiscated. No mopeds or motorcycles should end up in the bike lane. Thank you seriously for considering my proposal, e-bike responsibility.
Thank you. Just a reminder to folks, if you're not here speaking on behalf of an institution, please do let us know where you live. And Andrew does live in the district, but just for upcoming speakers, please let us know at the start of your speaking. So next we will go to Adil El-Bakri, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Adil. I'm the head of household. I live in a crampy studio apartment at Nature, Holmes Tower, with my wife, 5-year-old son, and my 1-year-old daughter. Both of my kids were born here while living in our studio apartment. The living conditions are inhuman. Beside the lack of space, we are living with mold, peeling paint, exposed heating pipe, and no light fixture in the main room. My wife is suffering with mental illness and she's undergoing therapy. And my son was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. None of my kids have their own bed nor bedroom. Bed sharing prevents us all from a good night's sleep. Everyone in the family suffers from a lack of sleep. There is no space for anything. We don't even have a sofa to sit on. The entire apartment fits the bed that we all share. This studio apartment is not able to be child-proof and it's not designed for children. I contacted former council member Carlos years ago and my current council member Julie Minin, Senator Jose Serrano, Manhattan Borough President's Office, 311 HPD, HUD, numerous nature staff, including executives. The injustice that my family and I endured is unconscionable, hurtful, and emotionally distressful. We are suffering and we desperately need relief and intervention. It is my hope that no other family will have to go through what we have to endure. We all have been negatively, emotionally, and physically impacted. We all asking I'm asking for an apartment transfer. Your help would be much appreciated, and thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry that you're dealing with that. We will have the board staff follow up with you. Next, let's go to Evelyn David.
Go ahead, Evelyn. You're in.
Oh, good. It worked, actually. First time try. Yeah. Hi, how are you? I am a resident of New York City. I live between 62 and 63 on Lex at 806 Lexington Avenue. Very fast question. How is everybody? I hope you're well. You all sound great. First question, very fast. Il Gandiso Ristorante at 808 Lex, which is next door, has put out this funky kind of fake grass and made a little picnic, put up tables with a tent. I'm just wondering, question, do they have a permit? Don't you need a permit if you're taking away parking spaces? They also put cones out in front of their restaurant during the day, so nobody will park there. I mean, I think, I'm wondering if they have a permit. So I don't know how you find that out, but I would really like to know. And if they don't have a permit, somebody needs to shut them down, stop them. That's not fair. The parking, oh my goodness gracious. Which brings me to the good old parking passes for residents. I don't know how serious a conversation we can have about this and actually do something. Today, actually yesterday morning, the movie people put signs up all over, up and down Park Avenue on the east side. The cars aren't moving. The cars don't know because the movie people put them up, I don't know what time, but not enough time for anybody to get an idea. So all these cars are going to be, I know personally now, having talked to some of the people working on the site, that the cars are going to be towed, which is really not good for cars, as you know. So that is a big, big, big issue. That plus congestion pricing and what it's going to do to our parking. I don't even think of that. So if there's any way we can have a conversation about this for people who are actually residents, live here, vote here, work here. I mean, I don't know. Nothing to do with where your car is. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So in terms of the stuff you mentioned related to particular locations and things like that, if you can put the info in an email to the board, I think that would be helpful. We can follow up on that stuff. And in terms of the suggestion generally, maybe it's something that we've looked at in the past, and so maybe we'll look at it again.
And call 311 if you want to know if a restaurant is operating legally. Call 311.
And then once you have a 311, yeah, exactly. I think that's the first step. Next, let's go to Erica Burson, please.
Thanks, Russell. I live in the district. I just want to thank the team, the committee, and I attended the meetings that helped to stave off the 5G towers. It was nice to see that even though City Bridge thought it was a fait accompli, that it's actually not. To echo other people's disappointment, I went to the Four Freedoms Dem meeting last month, and Jerry Nadler spoke and answered many questions from the audience. And then the next day, he did a joint press release that he wants congestion pricing pushed through. And everybody all of our electeds have basically fallen in under that. And it's really, really disappointing because this is a regressive tax on all people that live in Manhattan and people that'll be coming into the city. It's super disappointing. If it was really about climate change and not the MTA going after another money grab, they'd be enforcing the building codes, because buildings are the largest emission, is the largest, has the largest negative impact on the climate with carbon emissions. I mean, I between this and the NYPD, I don't understand what our elected officials are doing. So thank you for the first part. The second part, I'm severely disappointed in.
Thank you. Next is Maggie Lehman.
Maggie, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, Russell. And I live in the District 2. I live on 79th and 1st. And I'm calling in regarding a recent pedestrian fatal hit by a truck at the corner of 82nd Street and 2nd Avenue. And it occurred at the southwest corner, which is exactly, as I recall, one of the sites where the New York City program to rent out spots to cars and trucks is going to be located. And my ask is that CB8 contact the Department of Transportation to inform them of this fatal pedestrian hit, which occurred, I think some of you are aware of it probably, within the last week to 2 weeks. I do remember that at the CB8 meeting where public comments were invited by the DOT 10 seconds before the DOT approved the sites, that corner was specifically remarked upon as being a dangerous corner. So that's my first ask. I want to champion Andrew Fine's suggestions, multiple suggestions regarding e-bikes and other e-vehicles. Within the last 3 days, twice I have seen on 79th Street on the sidewalk speeding electric scooters, swerving in and out of strollers and elderly people on canes 2 times in 3 days. Those are my 2 comments. I'm terribly upset about the fatality, and I'm hoping that DOT will get one of Community Board 8's very, very impactful letters. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Rachel Strauss-Muniz, please.
Hello there. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me back here at the community board meeting. My name is Rachel Strauss-Muniz. I'm a parent and also co-chair of the spring fair at the Birchwood and Lenox School on 77th between 2nd and 3rd. I'm also a longtime resident of the neighborhood, having lived up here for close to 13 years on East 92nd between 1st and 2nd. So it's a real pleasure to be here. I'm also pleased to talk a little bit about our spring fair, which is being held for the lower school students, which is kindergarten through 5. K through 5th grade on Friday, June 2nd from 12:30 to 3 p.m. It'll be held on the block in front of the school. As many of you know, this is an annual tradition that brings a lot of joy to the neighborhood, going on 20 years, I believe now. It's been a real pleasure to work on this project as I've been connecting with local food vendors and merchants who have donated so graciously to the raffle prizes, which, as you know, will tie back to their businesses. We're also pleased this year to introduce the Environmental Club of Birchwood and Lenox. We'll host a recycling game, which will teach the students just what to recycle in what bin, both at the school and outside of BWL. So we're really excited for this fun, uplifting event to take place outdoors, in which the street will be closed from corner to corner, with rides, raffles, food donations from local vendors, raffle prizes, and of course, all of us parents and proud staff and teachers of BWL to accompany the lovely students. Thank you so much for your time, and look forward to working with you year after year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Laura Marcon, please.
Hi, am I unmuted? I am.
Yes,
Hi.
we hear you.
First, I want to thank the community board for all the important work that you do, and to the chairman, I'm very grateful for your efforts. I'm a new resident to this area in 1045 Madison between 79th and 80th. And even before we moved in, I expressed some concern through 311, DOT, MTA, et cetera, about the siting of the M1234 bus stop, which is directly outside our entrance. It is, obviously a congestion hazard and a safety hazard. It's very challenging for any residents of our building that are loading, unloading, using walkers, wheelchairs, which describe some of my visitors. Residents sometimes, bus users sometimes congregate under our awning, which creates an unsafe condition, and often by the service entrance where they can be hit by the door. So I think it's a very reasonable proposal if we could just move that bus stop north 10 meters to avoid this congestion, and just looking forward to understanding what the process might be to resolve that in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Katarzyna Silverton, please.
If you were here, we need you to indicate as such because I do not see your name in our list. So look for the reactions icon, press the raise hand button, or chat me to show me that you're here. Oh,
There's a
here we
hand
go.
up.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm here. Hi.
Perfect. You're good.
My name is Kasia Katarzyna Silverton. I'm also new resident to 1045 Madison. And I'm on this call because about the bus stop that is literally in front of our entry to our building. I have 2 6-year-old twin girls, and it's very difficult to leave or come into our building with all the people in front and the bus coming and leaving and all the people around. And the safety for them and for us is the main concern for us, because with all the people in front, sometimes we can't just come in or get out of the building. So we would like as well to propose if the bus stop, the 3 buses actually could be moved a little bit up closer to the 80th Street instead of being just in front of our entry. This is also even when I come in with the kids, I can't just unload the car and bring them because it is very unsafe. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And just a note, so we will have a transportation committee meeting on this issue in the coming month. Next is Josie Bashand, please. I apologize if I have mispronounced your name.
You should have a prompt to unmute. There you go.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm Josie Bishand, and I represent the Benson at 1045 Madison Avenue. I'm speaking on behalf of the board. We come before you today to discuss the M1, M2, M3, and M4 bus stop at Madison in front of our building. There is a real need to move this bus stop, and we are asking for your help in advocating on our behalf. There is significant congestion on the sidewalk and in the street that creates problems that impact more than just our building. Given the confluence of foot traffic and vehicle traffic, there are significant health and safety issues created here that are directly due to this bus stop. Also, delivery trucks and cars for hire have an issue with pickups and drop-offs due to this current situation. Additionally, the amount of foot traffic created by the sitting of the bus stop at this location, pedestrians and vehicles, has the potential to negatively impact the retail spaces along Madison. In short, the situation is untenable and needs attention. There are several possible solutions here that would more equitably distribute the pros and cons of the bus stop locations. We will be speaking with the DOT and the MTA, as well as reaching out to our elected officials. But we're hopeful you will be supportive of our efforts. A supportive resolution from the community board will help demonstrate the agencies and elected officials that the community supports this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Reed Coleman.
Hi, and thank you for your time. My name is Reed Coleman. I'm from New York and have lived in the district for 20 years. I currently also live at 1045 Madison Avenue, located on Madison between 79th and 80th. And I requested time to speak today on the same issue presented by the bus stops located directly outside the front door of our building and the safety and congestion issues they present. As you can tell, I'm joined by several residents on this call, some you'll hear from and some you won't. But the issue is primarily around safety and congestion. I'm the father to 3 young children, 8, 5, and 2 years old, as are many of the other residents, parents to young children, and the very narrow sidewalk outside the front of our door and constant high-speed bus traffic presents significant safety concerns for bus patrons, for my family, and the family of other residents. There are buses whizzing by the front door at high speeds all day long, and the sidewalk in that particular area is extremely narrow. So there's no room for the bus riders to wait without blocking the front entrance to our building and the service entrance to the building, while also allowing foot traffic to pass. As others have mentioned, there's no ability for us to drop off in front of the building children, unload bags, drop off strollers, car seats, anywhere near the front door, without causing significant disruptions to bus traffic and upsetting the waiting bus patrons. So, we're often forced to drop off in even less safe areas of the street, causing, traffic and further safety issues. So I hope the committee will support our efforts to consider relocating the bus stop to address the safety and congestion issues you've heard about from me and others. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is JV Kodali.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, there
Yep.
we can.
Hi. My name is JV Kadali. I'm also a resident of 1045 Madison Avenue and have lived in New York City for well over 20 years. I won't belabor some of the points that so the prior residents have made on this call as well regarding safety and congestion issues. I would echo all those comments as well. I think that one important point that I'd like to highlight is that prior to 1045 being built, there was a bus stop there. And I think the MTA has kind of defaulted in putting a bus stop there again. But what has changed in the situation is that it is now a 19-story building with 2 additional retail locations that has greatly impacted traffic and congestion. And I think that primarily I have a 90-year-old father, an 85-year-old mother. My wife also has elderly parents, and that they often visit us. And there's literally no way to get off the street onto the sidewalk. And the volume of buses that come through every 20 minutes, it's 5 buses, and they're sitting there waiting, and oftentimes stacked up down the street. So I think that the situation is very different than what it was when the bus stop was originally there, and it probably needs it. Our hope and desire is that the committee will take up the issue and address the issue. We're not asking for anything, I think, too far afield, and we appreciate your time and attention on this matter, and thank you for the opportunity to speak, and hopefully we can get some equitable resolution for everyone, including the bus riders. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Mubin Siddiqui, please.
Thank you to CB8. I'm Naveen, and I am a resident of New York.
You're coming through a little quiet. Is there any way you can increase
you
your
hear
volume?
me?
Yes, that's
Is
better.
That's much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll restart your time too.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Abeen with Muslim Volunteers for New York. We are stewards of Rupert Park in your district. The park is on 90th on 2nd Avenue. We have a very wonderful, our semi-annual planting and park beautification event coming up on Saturday. We would love to see everyone on this call and their families and their friends and other neighbors to come join us. It's a joyful, uplifting event as well. We are planting over 2,000 beautiful small flowers and shrubs and plants. There will be music. There'll be free giveaways. There'll be free complimentary refreshments. There'll be urban park rangers for your children to learn about safeguarding our flora and fauna. It's just there's a lot of activities. There's painting, mulching, raking. Hopefully, at the end of the day, the park will be an oasis for all of you to come in and visit when you have time and get a breath of fresh air. So please, I would urge you to come and join us. It's because of all of your participation over the years that the park has gotten the attention that is very badly needed and received the capital funding that it has. So we will have Russell out there. We will have Judy, Rita, hopefully Alida. I hope you can come out there. Lovely to see you on there, Alida, as well. Mark Levine, Julie Menon, and many other elected officials will be visiting. So we'd love to have a strong showing of all the neighbors in the park. My colleague Sahar is also on the line. I don't know, Sahar, if you want to add anything, but we have a whole host of activities that, everybody with different capabilities can participate in. So look forward to seeing all of you there.
Just wanted to add that the registration link has been shared in the chat. So please, if you are thinking of joining, then it would be lovely if you can register. Bring your families. It's a fun event for adults and children. So please register And if your children need community service letters, that is a possibility too. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Alita Camp.
Thanks, Russell. Hi, everyone. This is about the art show coming up on June 17th, rain date June 18th at James Cagney Place, 91st Street between 2nd and 3rd. We have over 86 artistic submissions already. We'll have a special kids corner. There'll be music from JREC, at least one JREC ensemble. Musical theater is performing between 1 and 1:30, and we're hoping to have other musicians as well. UES will be selling ice cream with excellent sprinkles that they bring. And so I hope it's a day that's been a lot of fun for everyone. Thank you for those who's volunteered, like Sahar, to help set up or take down. I hope to see a lot of you guys, if not all of you there. It should be a very fun day. It has been in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of the public session. So next we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is adoption of the agenda, which can be done with a thumbs up if anybody would like to do that in second. Marco is a yes, and Michelle is a second. Anyone opposed? Very good. Next is adoption of last month's minutes. Any motion to that effect? Yes, Marco again, Michelle seconds. Thank you very much. Anyone opposed? No? Great. All right, so let's move now to the elected official reports. So if you are here on behalf of an elected official who has not presented yet and is not going to be presenting in person later on in this meeting, please raise your hand and you will have 2 minutes and we will call on you in turn. Oh, open up my participants menu. Okay, we are going to start with Julia Mayenza, please.
Great, thanks so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Mayenza. I'm a community engagement coordinator for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. I'll share my contact information in the chat as always, so please feel free to reach out should you have any questions, concerns, anything. A few announcements. As you may know, a major priority of DA Alvin Bragg is gun violence prevention. We have a few announcements pertaining to that. First, we are having a gun buyback on Saturday, June 10th. As we go into the summer and we see gun violence increase historically in the summer, this is proven to be a very effective event. So if you know people who would be interested, it's cash or iPads for guns. It will be Saturday, June 10th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Memorial Baptist Church on West 115th Street. I'll also share that information in the chat. The second announcement is the Gun Violence Prevention Initiative, which will provide funding to community-based organizations to give stipends to young New Yorkers to beautify their communities that have been impacted by gun violence, as well as establish meaningful programming for gun violence prevention. I can also share the link to the call for applications. And if you have questions, there's an email there to direct your questions to. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Next is Jessie K.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm from Councilmember Keith Powers' office. I have a bit of good news to share about the 5G towers. The FCC recently examined them and determined that the proposed towers failed to go through the appropriate regulatory process. As a result, the towers must now undergo further reviews under the National Environmental Protection Act and National Historic Preservation Act. The review must be done both for future towers as well as retroactively for towers that have already been installed. And until they complete these reviews, no additional towers can be installed. I also wanted to talk about the mental health roadmap. As we enter Mental Health Awareness Month, Councilmember Powers joined City Council Speaker Adams and Mental Health Commissioner Committee Chair Linda Lee in rolling out the City Council's mental health roadmap. The roadmap is a focused, substantive plan of action to address many of the challenges we're facing in connecting New Yorkers to the mental health resources they need. Councilmember Powers is the primary sponsor of Intro 1021, a bill that will require at least 2 crisis respite centers or CRCs per borough. CRCs are a proven alternative to hospitalization where people can stay and receive support for up to a week at a time. There are currently only 4 city-sponsored CRCs in the city, and this bill will more than double that to 10. And it will also increase accessibility by requiring centers to be located in high-need areas. Responders are often related additional mental health
Jesse,
growth.
I don't want to interrupt you, but your boss is here. Would you like to kick it over to him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, he was doing a great job. I didn't want to interrupt. I only am stopping in to interrupt this update because I was told that a certain appointee of ours, Rami's last meeting is today, and I wanted to come and say I'm looking for him on my screen here on my phone, but I wanted to say thank you to him for his service. We are so proud of all the work he's done. And I want to say thank you to Taina for making sure I got on here as well. But I know as he's leaving, I want to just say a quick thank you for him on all the work he's done on the Youth and Education Committee. I think that's the proper name of it. And just to say goodbye and thank you and thanks for your service, and wanted to make a very surprise cameo as I head up to the Carnegie Hill Neighbors meeting, just to say that. And Jesse, I'm sorry to interrupt you in the middle of your report to do that.
No, that is more than okay.
Okay, I'll let you guys go back to it, but Rami wanted to say thank you and nice to see everyone tonight. And I am going to do a proclamation of Carnegie Hill Neighbors. I'll let Jess go back to her report.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
So yeah, I was just speaking a little bit about the mental health roadmap and just about the additional services that will be available to folks. And lastly, I just wanted to make a note on illegal cannabis. New York State did pass new laws to crack down on illegal cannabis shops that have sprouted across the city. Major changes to the budget, including creating a new Class A misdemeanor to sell cannabis without a license, and just a bunch of other regulations. I'm happy to share them in the chat. But yeah, hopefully the situation with that will improve.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Audrey Tannen, please.
Thank you. I will follow up very nicely on Jesse's report. Hello, and thank you, Russell. As Jesse mentioned, a lot was in the budget considering the illegal cannabis shops and also with the hope of opening up more legal shops. Not only were there new regulations and new authority given to the Office of Cannabis Management, but a lot more money was given to them in the budget to hire people and to help with the enforcement. And again, opening of legal shops, which I know Senator Krueger really believes will help the whole problem too. We want there to be legal shops opening up, licensed shops. Also in the budget, I think Liz would be the first to tell you there was a lot of good and there was a lot of disappointment. She had hoped for there to be more advancement on housing issues. She's kind of disappointed that good cause isn't going anywhere, but very happy that in-state tuition for SUNY and CUNY students did not go up. And also the Public Renewables Act. This is a really wonderful step forward in making sure that New York State does move and can move away from fossil fuels and toward renewables. So those were some of the core features of the budget that she's happiest about. There's still a few more weeks in the legislative session. Liz has sponsored, she's a primary sponsor for about 75 pieces, including wine being able to be sold in supermarkets, reforming the New York City Board of Elections, human trafficking legislation. There are a lot of pieces that we hope still can get passed. And hopefully by June, she'll come here to your next meeting and tell you all that happened in the session. Thanks a lot and have a good rest of your meeting. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Hannah Wienerman, please.
Everyone, I'm Hannah Wienerman from Congressman Jerry Nadler's office. Congressman Nadler has been very vocal about the urgent need to send a clean bill raising the debt ceiling to President Biden's desk. The U.S. economy should not be held hostage by putting working families' healthcare, food assistance, and veterans benefits at risk in order to prevent defaulting on our nation's bills. We as a country have not defaulted on our bills for over 200 years, and we should not start now. Hopefully at the next board meeting, I will have good news to report about the debt ceiling. Yesterday, the Judiciary Committee held a hearing to debate changes to a law meant to protect access to abortion facilities. So Congressman Nadler used his time at the hearing to fight against attempts for a national abortion ban and to increase protections for reproductive freedom. On a local note, as the dean of the New York delegation, Congressman Nadler convened a bipartisan delegation meeting with Governor Hochul to discuss the end of Title 42 and an the increase in asylum seekers arriving to New York City. So at the end of the meeting, they agreed to pursue additional federal funding and resources to allow New York to better respond to this ongoing situation. Congressman Nadler also joined a bicameral letter of lawyers representing New York City to urge President Biden to use his executive power to ease the undue delays in granting work authorizations to asylum seekers so they can join the workforce and become active participants in our communities. And as Jesse mentioned, the historic preservation and environmental reviews the 5G towers need to undergo before any work can be done is underway. So we will keep you posted on that. If you have any questions, I will put my information in the chat. Pleasure seeing you all. Take care.
Thank you. Next, let's go to Harley Knightis, please.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair Squire, District Manager Brightbale, and board members. I'm pleased to join you tonight to discuss updates from Albany and the 76th District. We are thrilled to have finally passed the new budget, which includes vital investments in health, the environment, transportation, education, and among other areas. On May 15th, we passed numerous bills and resolutions to mark Legislative Disability Awareness Day. These included bills renaming the Developmental Disabilities Awareness Council and increasing its representation of people with disabilities, establishing a People with Disabilities Access to Programs Commission, creating a commission on the deaf, deafblind, and hard of hearing, offering more state employment opportunities for people with disabilities, and waiving the state's sovereign immunity from disability discrimination charges. The two resolutions in the legislative package memorialized Governor Hochul to proclaim May 15th, 2023 as Legislative Disability Awareness Day and mourn the death of disability rights advocate Judith Heumann. Regarding the direct support wage enhancement, or DSWE, for disability support staff, we will continue working to pass that bill by the end of the session. On May 10th, we held the 2023 Women of Distinction Awards at Memorial Sloan Kettering Center's Zuckerman Auditorium, where we honor noteworthy women in our communities. And I welcome you all to join us at an upcoming event, whether it's our next Spree Clinic on Wednesday, May 24th, the Saturday, June 3rd Street Fair, or our July 23rd Shredathon, which is a fan favorite at 68th and 1st. And of course, please call our office for more information. And as always, consider us a resource. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. And thank you for the great Women of Distinction ceremony that you did. Next, let's go to James Giuliano, please.
Hello, everyone. First of all, before I say anything else, huge shout out to Rami. Rami, Assemblymember Boris is sadly couldn't hop on the meeting tonight to shout you out himself as well. But thank you so much for everything you've done. Most folks probably know I could spend all 2 minutes talking about Rami. So truly, Rami, thank you so much, and good luck at school. Moving on to some updates. As Harley just mentioned, of course, we passed the budget. Assemblymember Boris is proud to have delivered over $3.2 million in funding directly for the 73rd District, including we're very proud of $2 million in funding to create the Climate Jobs Institute at Cornell School of Industrial and Labor Relations. Next, I'm sure we've all heard a little bit about unlawful cannabis shops tonight. Of course, the state budget includes a lot more stringent enforcement for these shops. You know, fines have gone way up, penalties are getting a lot more severe, and we're really cracking down. Our office, I shared it with Will already, but I can reshare it in the chat too. Our office has set up a form to submit information on shops that are illegally selling cannabis, which we will aggregate and send to the Office of Cannabis Management. OCM is set to prioritize enforcement towards cannabis shops that they're receiving repeated complaints about, especially if they contain photos and details about what they're doing. Next, Assemblymember Boris's optometry bill passed the Assembly by a unanimous vote of 148-0. Currently, if you study optometry outside of New York State, you are not allowed to do your apprenticeship here. This is why, as of January 1st, we only had 3,893 optometrists in the entire state, with a population close to 20 million people. So that's unacceptable. The bill addresses that shortage and lifts the in-state school requirement. So if you go to school somewhere else, you can do your apprenticeship here. And lastly, it's not in CB8, but tomorrow from 11 to 1, we will be setting up a table at Sutton Place Park to do some mobile office hours. So feel free to come and say hi. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. All right, so let's move now to the chair's report. So as many folks have mentioned, we're in a sort of turnover period where this is the last meeting for a number of board members who are leaving the board, and so we'll be welcoming some new board members starting tomorrow. But for now, I do want to just thank all of the board members who are leaving. We have a lot of great board members who have really provided tremendous service in their time on the board on CB8 here. So Mohit Agrawal, Vanessa Aronson, Greg Morris, Rami Segal, who has been our youngest board member, Lynn Strong Shinazaki, who is the unofficial mayor of Roosevelt Island, but is moving away, and Carolina Tejo. Thank all of you for your service. And we will miss you here on the board, but many of you will still be in the neighborhood, and so we'll certainly be seeing you around and at meetings and all that. So in addition, we need volunteers. I just want to put out a call for volunteers among the board members, first for some street fairs that we have coming up, including one in June. So please, if you're available, Will has sent out info about that. And if you're able to help out with staffing the table, that would be tremendous help. In addition, as I've mentioned previously, we have and as Alita mentioned earlier, we have the art show, the CB8 art show coming up June 17th. These have been tremendously popular and, really a nice thing for the board, a nice way to get our, our name out there and our message out there and to bring the community together. But we do need some help with setup and takedown. So if board members or members of the public or public members would like to help out with that, please do. For board members, you can sign up at the link that has been circulated. For others, get in touch with the board because we could use your help with that as well. I just want to remind everybody we've had a pretty good run of relatively short meetings lately, so please do in the discussions try to keep your remarks brief and to the point. I think pithy remarks are always more persuasive. Please don't repeat points that other folks have made. Really try to stick to making new points when you're speaking, and I think everyone will appreciate that. And then a reminder that it's always in order to take multiple unanimous resolutions together, which also saves time. And so with that, I will turn it over to Will for his report.
I'll echo everything that Russell said about our outgoing members. So many of you guys have been great partners for the committees that you guys have worked on, and we're really going to miss you. And excited for any of the new members who are appointed that are going to start tomorrow that are on the call. We're excited to work with you guys. Look out for an email from me tomorrow giving some resources and starting the process of onboarding and getting you guys up to speed with how Community Board 8 membership works. I also want to echo Russell's thanks for anybody and everybody who volunteered and stopped by the 2nd Avenue Street Fair earlier this month. There are great photos from the event on our social media. Go and check those out. And then, as Russell mentioned, we do have volunteer opportunities. I put those dates in the chat. There's also one more that he didn't mention. It's the Roosevelt Island Day celebration on June 10th. We'll be tabling there for the first time, and so anybody who would like to participate in that event for the board, that's on June 10th, and you can sign up at the link that was in the last week's weekly news roundup. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Russell. Thank you.
Thank you for mentioning that. And just to be clear, so for the street fair and the Roosevelt Island Day celebration, that's board members only who can volunteer for those. But for the art show, it's not just board members, it's anybody can volunteer to help out if you would like to. So now let's move to our committee reports, and we will start with the Social Justice Committee. And Sarah and Sandrea, please.
Sandrea and I have a resolution to present to you tonight, and it's regarding the NYPD Strategic Response Group. So this is a unit that has made the news a number of times, and we received a presentation from the New York Civil Liberties Union with regard to their concerns about this group. To be clear, it's wholly different from the 19th precinct. The Strategic Response Group is an organization, it's a unit within NYPD that is comprised of volunteer officers who participate in a militarized counterterrorism unit. And that unit has been deployed to police First Amendment activities like protests, and has defined specific groups like Black Lives Matter as violent groups. And as you might imagine, that the policing that subsequently takes place has escalated, has made New Yorkers feel unsafe. And when the city council attempted to hold oversight meetings, oversight hearings, that they were unable to obtain any information from NYPD about this group. And so after we had community members who spoke about their experiences with SRG, one of the things that we learned through this presentation was that Community District 8 is among the communities that the SRG would be deployed to. And when NYCLU, the New York Civil Liberties Union, asked for more information, they were not given rationale for how different community districts were selected. It was the committee's opinion that we didn't believe that the Strategic Response Group, or SRG, would provide community safety for our community or any other community. And so the resolution that you have before you, in the resolved, it states Manhattan Community Board 8 calls for NYPD SRG to be disbanded and for the city of New York to divest from any form of militarized policing and reinvest in programs that strengthen communities and support equity. And that we also resolve that we encourage our elected officials to support community safety and First Amendment activities by disbanding the SRG. And so this was a resolution that was made by Rita. And so I ask for any comments or questions.
Yeah, I want to just add before we go to the public. Yes, so the SRG, being that it's a voluntary unit, and for those that don't know, I served over 24 years with the New York City Police Department, so I've seen the good, the bad, and ugly. When you have a unit that can be rogue, that can be voluntary, they're not hand selected. They raise their hand to come on board to this unit. It's problematic, because you don't know what you're really getting. And because they can be rogue and because they can harm people without any impunity, without any real supervision, is problematic. And, during the protests with BLM, Black Lives Matter, throughout the city, they have been really harmful to people. And just the fact that NYPD would not show up to city council to answer questions is also problematic. So with this unit, if it is disbanded, please know that none of the officers lose their job. They just go back to maybe their old commands or another unit. So, it's not about taking away anybody's job, but it is about other people's civil liberties that have been impacted by this unit. So I'll yield there. Go ahead, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Great. Peggy.
Hi, thank you. Since this passed unanimously, I'd like to call the question.
Do we have any objections to calling the question?
Is there
Barbara
a second?
seconded it.
Looks like there's a second. You have no objections?
Did Barbara
Okay.
second it? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara. All righty. So I think we're ready to call the roll then.
All right.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, sorry. If you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hand now. Michelle,
No.
Thank you. Russell?
No.
Thank you. Jane? Sorry.
James just
There we go. Thank you. John Phillips?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, thank you. And then Wilma?
Wilma, look for the button on your screen to unmute.
Okay, no.
Thank you. Marco?
Abstain. I'm sorry, abstain.
No worries, thank you. Will Sanchez?
No.
Thank you. Felice?
No.
Thank you. Sherry?
No.
Thank you. Adam?
No.
Myself is a no. Anyone else? Craig?
Abstain.
Thank you. Taina?
No.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, so the resolution passes with 9 noes and 3 abstentions, and I'll get the total number of yes votes in a second. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, next let's go to the Landmarks Committee and David and Jane.
And
Okay.
David, you both need to unmute.
Good
evening.
I'm unmuted.
You are.
We heard 4 applications on Monday night on Zoom, all very interesting. I will handle the first 2 and then David will come on board, but I hope we'll hear from David on all of the applications. The first one, 1014 Fifth Avenue. The architect, the main architect on the project, David Chipperfield, was sort of left off at the beginning, but it will be added on before it goes down to the commission. His firm won an international competition, and with another New York-based law firm, Caro Architects, did the redesign of the front elevation for this building that's owned by the federal government of Germany. The main issue for the committee, I think, was the proposed grid, the new grid for the entrance. It's sort of a gate that won't be open all the time, but it will cover the entrance door when the facility is closed to the public. And some members of the committee felt that it was too modern in design. However, I felt, and I think David and Anthony Cohen felt the same way, that there was, yes, please show the elevations. You can see the gate right here, that it's true, it doesn't mimic the metalwork in the balconies above on the second floor, but that there's nothing wrong with having sort of a contemporary approach at the entrance, which sort of fits with the whole cleaner line of the entrance, including the gate, the window, and a bench that's being proposed. And so therefore, it was a disapproval with 3 people opposing the disapproval, myself, David Halpern, and Anthony. David, do you want to add another comment to that?
Well, the reason I supported it, I think there, first of all, it's not necessary to replicate what's in a building. Sometimes that's appropriate and sometimes not. And Landmarks, I would say, has moved much more in the direction of wanting an addition or a change to a building to be of its period, so that you can see the transition from period to period. The other side of the coin is, if we do something which is not a replication, then it has to feel compatible, it has to feel part of the whole. And I think Jane pointed out that the metalwork is the same material as the metalwork above. The metalwork above becomes much simpler than the metalwork that you're seeing on the balcony. Also, what's not visible here is the metal work on the side of the stair, which is to the right of the figure in front of what looks like an oversized bench under the window, but it's actually the side of the stair coming up. So if you look at the metal and you also look at the sculptural quality of the stair and also of the bench, they are curvilinear. They pick up the curvature of the traditional architecture, but they do it in a more abstract and a more contemporary way. But when you look at the totality of it, to me, it felt very comfortable, and I thought it was appropriate to do something of our time if it feels right on the building, and I feel strongly that it does feel right and that it's very well done. What you don't see here is the grid of granite, which is a 5-foot grid, and everything you see in terms of the bench and the stair, they're all related neatly to that grid. So it's a very well done, very thoughtful design, and I would love to see the resolution changed to supporting the appropriateness of this.
Thank you, David. I see that Michelle's hand is raised. Michelle?
Yeah, thank you. The majority of the committee had a different point of view. I'll speak for myself. I don't know that it was necessarily because it wasn't a replica of the ironwork that is on the upper floors. I think that this grid is very, not only commercial looking, but reminds me of the old dungeon movies. In and of itself, I find it very, very unattractive. Not to mention the fact that it in no way refers to any other element on the building. If you could put up another visual of the bench and of the other elements in front of the building, to my mind, this rectangular,
You do see the gate.
the window, thank you. This is a perfect shot. Thank you. The grid on the door and the grid on the entry to the areaway in no way reflects any curvature or any soft angle that you see on either the concrete slab or the granite slab that protects the areaway or the bench. So, and if you look at even the adjoining fence to the next building, which we're not necessarily in consideration here, but if you do look, excuse me, sorry, but the ironworks that are in this visual plane, to my mind and to the mind of the majority, that door, the grid on both those elements is completely out of place. And it would be very simple, didn't have to duplicate the ironworks that's above, could have made it very simple, could have actually taken the curves of those ironworks and reflected the curves on the bench and on the slab. To my mind and others, this did not do any of that. And so, and because it would be very easy to correct that, I would urge the committee to support the disapproval. Thank you. The board, I should say, to support it.
Thank you. So are there any other raised hands? Will, I can't see now.
Yeah, you have Marco. Marco, go
Okay.
ahead. You can unmute, I think.
Thank you. I am supporting most of the new proposed changes, except one, which is the massive, simplistic grid of the main door entrance of almost 12 feet high and 4 feet wide approximately, which has a lack of diversity of architectural features. This proposal is opposite to the eclectic architectural features of the Beaux Arts style, which is characterized by symmetry and the eclectic use of architectural features combined so as to give a massive, elaborated, and often ostentatious effect. Furthermore, this applicant didn't show us the digital rendering with the main door closed, except right now that we are seeing, which is the central issue of this proposal. So this led me to believe that they were wrong and they feel embarrassed of this jail by this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. I think we can
You have one more
Go back
hand from
to the-
Elizabeth Ashby. And what would you like to go back to?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize Elizabeth. Yeah, I can't see. Thank you, Will.
Yes, I haven't all that much to say. I think the standard we're supposed to abide by is appropriate. And I think this is a very strongly designed, important building representing its era and its style. And I think that the proposal is so entirely different that it's a sore thumb sitting in front of a very handsome building. And I think that it's the definition of inappropriate for a building of this sort. So I do think that the majority of the committee got it right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rita has her hand up.
Call the question.
Is there a second? All those in favor, any opposed? I think we can go to a vote. I'm not sure who's doing the tally.
It'll be Felice, and she's unmuted.
Okay, thanks.
So is there anyone voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause? Chuck?
No.
Gail? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. You skipped over Addison too.
Oh, sorry. Addison?
No.
Gail?
No.
Jane?
No.
Craig?
You're skipping me.
No.
I'll make sure you get called on, Bill.
Sorry, Bill.
No.
Bill? Saeed, sorry, David?
No. Lori too.
Yep. Lori?
No.
And Sandrea?
No.
Okay, seeing none others and hoping I didn't skip over anyone else. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 no's. The vote passes.
You have to unmute Jane.
Jane, you have
Well,
to.
I'll go through that again. 134, 138 East 74th Street, a very complicated application. The application refers to a single house and a double house that are being joined together to form a single family home on East 74th Street. The application, actually the presentation was quite beautiful, presented by Peter himself, which was quite an honor for us. The major concern for some of the committee was that for one of the houses, the house, it's complicated because you look at it and you think you're looking north, but actually the buildings are on the south side of the street. For 138, which is the smaller house, the areaway is being extended into the public way by 22 inches, and the wrought iron fencing will be put there 22 inches out so that it aligns with the fencing on houses for the rest of the street and for the adjacent house 134. So otherwise, I think you can read that the improvements to the front elevations of both are quite magnificent. And the committee approved the application, but there were a couple of dissenters because of that extending into the public way, which will require going to DOT for a revocable consent. So I don't know, Will, whether one of those people, Alita, I think, and Michelle may want to speak to their votes.
Yes, sorry. You have Alita with her hand up, and then Michelle has her hand up after that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Will. They did do a really good job with the elevation, and I don't disapprove on that basis. But as Jane pointed out, it does intrude 22 inches into the public way. As you'll see in the next application, which was unanimously approved, the DOT said no to the Little Prince extending into the public way 8 inches. There's a principle of access and use of public sidewalks that I don't think should be interfered with here, particularly because it's the smaller of the houses and it is a distinctive house in itself and designed and maintained to look that way. So on principle, I would have to vote no, even though I like the design. I realize it's kind of a rock and a hard place situation, but just on the idea of intruding, I am uncomfortable with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alita. Michelle?
Yes, I agree with everything that Alita said. One of our quandaries in the committee is we tend not to split up elements of a presentation and vote separately on them. Had this been the case, I think the committee was perfectly happy with all the other changes that were made. If you look at it visually, it was improvement, with the existing being on your left and the improvement, and the proposed on your right. However, that small building is 18 feet wide. To encroach into the public way 22 inches, I tend to vote against those and the irrevocable trust issues that come before our transportation committee, and that's why I'm doing that now. Had we been able to split up the application, I think that the proposed changes, with the exception of that, would have gotten a unanimous vote. So that's the reason for my vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I
And you
just
have
want to add
Marco
that,
after that. Sorry, Jane.
the
Go ahead.
sidewalk, the remaining sidewalk in front of that house will be 12 feet 4 inches. So the sidewalk will remain fairly wide. Thank you. David may have a comment too. David Halpern.
I only wanted to point out that there are many precedents for revocable consents, and that there's a long history in this city with stoops and gardens extending over the sidewalk. I think when you have a generous sidewalk like this, and you have the adjoining building already taking 22 inches, and they mentioned that further down the block, there's another area where another in front of another house, they've taken 22 inches, and yet it still leaves a 12-foot sidewalk. And the garden is actually a nice setting for this combination of the two houses. I just don't understand why we can't accept the revocable consent and still maintain a 12-foot sidewalk. It's not like we're putting it down to 6 feet.
Thank you, Dave.
You have hands up from Marco, Cause, and then Barbara Rudder.
Maybe we could stop the screen share. So
Absolutely.
Thank you. Marco.
Thank you. I think David clarified very well as Jane. The width of the sidewalk is 12 feet and 6 inches, and I think it's have plenty space, because most of the time where we pay attention, the minimum width is 8 feet, and so many applications we has been approved with that concept. And I think because of the improvement of the facade, which is everybody's in agreement, it will be a little bit unfair if we deny this application. And I strongly recommend we should approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara?
I think the argument that there is intrusion on our streets is not a good one. I think we should start thinking of the future. I will say, as I say very often, I am mainly a pedestrian. I do like walking our streets, and I've been finding more and more there is a tree pit there, which I love, and I wouldn't want to get rid of the tree pit. It makes it very hard for people to walk next to each other. It's more often than not, I have to stand aside while somebody with a walker or a baby carriage or so on has to walk through. I have been Alita has convinced me, and I will be pretty rigid, I think, in my voting against anything that intrudes on our public sidewalks that we need so greatly.
Thank you. Cause?
Yeah, the 22 inches, the new fence, does that line up with the adjacent buildings, or does it protrude 22 inches further out than the next door?
It aligns with the adjacent double house, and they will all be one house.
So in other words, if we say no, you're going to have a fence, then you're going to have a gap of 22 inches going in, and 18 feet down, you're going to have the fence coming out again.
Well, there
So
is
if-
another property further down the block that already extends out 22 inches, and the adjacent double house extends that, covers that 22 inches. It's sort of grandfathered from the past. So this is a way of correcting the gap in front of 134 so that the fencing will be at the exact same width as the house at 138, the double house at 138.
So that 22 inches would really not affect the sidewalk or anything else. It would benefit, it would look better to have one line rather than a zigzag.
I think so. My personal opinion is it's minor. The sidewalk is still going to be 12 feet wide, 12 feet, 6 inches wide.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chuck?
Call the question.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Barbara seconding. All in favor? Any opposed? Not sure who's taking the roll this time, but.
Greetings
Andre.
again, all. Please raise your hand if you are voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause. Barbara?
No.
Alita?
No.
Michelle?
No.
Abraham?
No.
Okay, this resolution passes with 4 no's, of course, but it passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. If we could put up the image for 177, 179 East 73rd Street. This is actually the Persian Jewish Center. In 2018, the rendering on the left was approved by the Landmarks Preservation Commission. What happened is that as they began to investigate what needed to be done to the building, they found that the existing wall, which you see on the proposed, was found to be in very bad condition, and the concrete slabs for the floors are also in very bad condition. So they have to take out the concrete slabs. And having to take out the slabs, and they simultaneously are taking out the wall. So basically, they're replacing the wall, similar to what you see in the approved image. The differences are that those vertical stripes that you see are actually flues that are no longer needed. So the wall will not have any protrusions on it. On the other hand, the wall will have a variation in the brick because some of it will be horizontal and some of it will be vertical soldier courses. Also, the brick will be almost the same as the brick in the front. Nothing is ever perfect, but they are committed to finding a brick as close in color, texture, and size as the bricks in the front. Size is simple. So it will look very much of a piece. And since the building to the left, the little house to the left, is part of the Persian Jewish Center, no matter what happens to the west, that wall will always be seen. The reason the wall looks the way it does in the proposed he's showing that wall being removed is because the probability was that wall would never be seen, because as the street was being developed, they probably anticipated that another building would cover that wall. Now that that wall is going to be seen, you have to think about it the way you see it in the approved rendering, except that the wall will be closer in color to the brick that you see in the front, and it will also not have the protrusions. Last but not least, that red brick that returns on the front is actually set out a little bit from the wall, so that if the brick is not an absolutely perfect match, it will not be in the same plane. So they'll get it as close as they can, and it will look the same, but the setback, the slight setback, will enable you to have a brick that is slightly different and will still look the same. In any event, this was a unanimous yes to approve. So I don't know if anybody wants to comment on it.
You have Chuck Warren and then Marco Tamayo.
Call a question?
Anybody opposed? And a second, Marco seconds. Anybody opposed? Okay. I guess the secretary should call the roll, please.
Yes.
Yep.
Addison.
All right.
And actually,
if you're voting,
really, sorry, Addison, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No worries.
Elizabeth Rose chatted me that she was having problems unmuting or raising her hand for the last one, and she wants to explain her vote for the one just before, so we have it
Not
in the
explain,
record.
just
Or
give her
not
vote.
explain, just clarify it. Sorry, just get it on the record. It's a no,
Yep.
but
Yeah, I'm a no on East 74th Street.
thank you. Sorry, Addison.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
everyone else.
no worries. So if you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hand now. And seeing none, this will go down as a unanimous approval.
Okay, so if we could have the next image, please.
Geez, he blocks the bases loaded. Ooh, what's going on here?
Chuck, here.
The next item is 972 Fifth Avenue. We actually approved this quite some time ago. However, this was not approved because the Department of Transportation and the Department of Design and Construction came out against it. I'm showing you this as a reminder of the book, The Little Prince, and what we're looking at in the next slide, please, is a sculpture of the Little Prince sitting on the wall of this building. When we approved it the first time around, and there was no recess, the wall had not been set back, so that, as Alita pointed out, when you sat the Little Prince on the wall without the recess, his feet stuck out 8 inches. Well, I think there are times when you make exceptions and you do extend over the sidewalk, and perhaps there are times when you don't. In this particular case, I think they actually improved it for all the wrong reasons. But by setting back that middle stone, what they did is they actually created a setting for the Little Prince. And the bronze plaque that you see to the right is similar to the plaque that you saw in that first slide. In any event, it was a unanimous vote to approve this. And I guess the question is whether there are any comments. It's very much self-evident as to what this application is about.
You have hands up from Marco, Ed, Mrs. Brown, and we'll get to the others later. Marco?
Thank you. I would like to call the question.
And it's seconded by Ed. I'm gonna lower all the hands.
Hmm.
And then,
So we're going to call the roll.
yes, please.
Yep. Thank you. Is there anyone voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause? Seeing none, the motion is unanimously approved.
That does
All
it
right.
for landmarks.
Excellent, thank you. All right, next let's go to the Transportation Committee and Craig and Chuck.
Yeah, we have two resolutions here. One was unanimous approval, and one was unanimous disapproval. And the first one concerned scaffolding in our district. And you may have noticed there are a few scaffolds erected around the Upper East Side. And we had a hearing, and Keith Powers, who came before in our public session, came and presented a package of his legislation, which we very much appreciate his effort and other efforts. And Chris Carroll, the Borough President's office, was there also. He was very helpful and supportive. And Sherry Weiner really has been extremely helpful in on this issue. And she got someone to come from Boston to talk about these drones and making facade inspections. And we actually had a good hearing. And I don't know whether, Craig, you may want to make some comments on this before we take any questions or go forward.
Sure. Thank you, Chuck. So as part of this, the background is that Keith Powers had introduced 5 separate bills, and alongside of those, there are a few other council members that had introduced other bills as part of this package. So we have a package of 9 bills that the council member had spoken about or referred to or wanted us to consider and take action on if we so pleased. So the draft legislation covers a variety of issues such as new design requirements for scaffolding, allowing for the city to establish a pilot program using drones for inspections of building faces, and other legislation as well that would address some of the issues regarding lighting and safety and the length of time that scaffolding and sidewalk sheds are allowed to actually remain standing consecutively, but basically a comprehensive package to try to deal with this issue. So at the end of the discussion, we essentially passed a resolution in which we were requesting that the city council hold hearings on this. And there's some discussion as to whether we should support this package as it was, or whether we weren't ready to go that far. And we landed on this for the resolution, that we were interested in this discussion, and that we clearly had concerns regarding the issue of unsightly and excessive scaffoldings and sidewalk sheds, and that we wanted this issue to be addressed.
Well, I think the language, as you see in the resolve, urges hearings and consideration of the package of the bills introduced by Keith Powers and others that aim to address the subject matter in a comprehensive manner. That's the operative words. And we should have Sherry, I think, wants to make a comment, and she's been very helpful in this, so I think we should recognize Sherry first here.
Thank you, Chuck and Craig, for picking this up. Scaffolding and sidewalk sheds have been an issue bane to my existence, as I'm sure many others, for this ugliness that's on our city. Do you know any other city that has scaffolding? No, we are the only city that has this. So we need to address it. And when I heard that Keith Powers had put a group of bills together, I spoke to him about it, and he thought it would be very helpful to have a resolution from the community board. And that's how Russell had directed it to the Transportation Committee. And then one of the things that Keith had put in his bill was the use of a drone to do inspections. And I have property up in Boston, and now we had the house inspected with a drone. So you don't have to put up all the scaffolding, you use a drone, and it's not the drone operator who decides whether or not you need to do pointing, that the drone just makes a picture for the inspector to use. And there's two ways to do it. Either the inspector can be there when the drone is flying around the building, or the picture is submitted to the inspection. So you don't have to worry about, gee, how's a drone operator going to know? But I think that would be certainly a way to address the number of scaffolding. And I liked in the package of bills that it also addressed the amount of time you have to, as soon as you get your permit, you have to start work. All of the common sense things that you would think would be controlling the use of scaffolding is in this packet of bills. And I think we were wise not to go through each bill and decide what we liked or what we didn't like. That's really not up to us at this point. Let the city council come up with the bills that they like. We just needed to show them that we in Community Board 8 are concerned about this issue, and we're urging our city council to address it. And that's really what the resolution is saying. Please, please, please do something about this eyesore on our neighborhood. Thank you very much. And again, thanks Chuck and Craig for jumping on this and running with it. I think it's a very important issue for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. Barbara Rudder, I think, is next. Barbara?
Okay. I thank you. Of course, I'm for this, but I would like, in addition to it, and I'm not sure it's the Transportation Committee, what happens is buildings either empty out. Across the street from me is the old Cafe d'Alsace restaurant, as an example, and they put this ugly plywood that becomes absolutely filled with graffiti and painted over and so on, or they knock down the building, has been my pet peeve for the last 15 years, between 86 all the way over to 85th, between 2nd and 1st Avenue, where there's advertising that gets ripped up. What can we do to say that we cannot have this horrible plywood, that they must be taken care of, that we have to do something that makes the absolute ugliness that in my mind is even worse than the scaffolding, which I agree is very ugly.
That's a little out of what we're discussing now, but it's
it's sort of connected because it is part of the buildings and it is connected.
I don't know if we'll have to check. Maybe we should check in with Will and we'll see if there's anything that we can do to address it. Russell, I know one thing.
Thanks. So I'd like to make a substitute motion, if it's seconded, speak to it. And the substitute motion is basically just to replace the resolve clause with one that says that we urge the passage of the 9 bills that are listed in the minutes.
There a second to that? Can we have seconds? Okay, Ed Hartzog is that, and Barbara. And okay, I see a number of seconds. Go ahead.
I mean, it's reasonably self-explanatory, but I mean, basically, I just think the resolution doesn't go far enough. It seems to me, in looking at the descriptions of the legislation, every one of them is common sense and would be a good thing to implement. And I think it's much stronger and hopefully more effective for us to just come out and say, we want these things to pass and not just ask the city council to consider it. So that's the reason for this substitute.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Russell. Next is Marco Tamayo. And we unmute Marco.
Thank you, Chuck. I'm going to support this application because I think this is the beginning of the big discussion. Because in the first part, when you put an scaffold, you put for protection. And that is DOB, they are reluctant to say no when somebody else come in to say we need an scaffold. A safety, the paramount in this case. However, DOB sometimes do not ask the applicants a plan. The plan has to be prepared and presented by a professional. And they establish the time period in which they expect to finish or accomplish this project. but what happened is that we never discuss anymore like that, and they keep just only extending the working the scalpel. And I think if there are a responsible professional, maybe you can have 1 or 2 times to renew the permit, but not keep adding for years. And I think I appreciate the job that you did, and thank you so much for to address this issue. Thank you, and I will support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Ed Hartzog, I believe, is next. Can we unmute Ed?
Thanks, Chuck. Yeah, I wholeheartedly support this. I've been railing against scaffolding for years. Folks have known me 10 years beyond. It's horrific what they do, and I can tell you that on 74th Street by the Greek church there, between 2nd and 1st, that scaffolding must have been up for a good 8-9 years continuously. It's come down, thank goodness, but I don't know why it's there. But I support this wholeheartedly. So I just wanted to chime in. I called the question, but 3 people are behind me, so I won't do that anyway.
Okay, thanks, Ed. Billy Freeland, can we unmute Billy?
Hi, I'd like to call the question.
Okay, is there second to calling the question here? I see some seconds. Okay. Do we have any objection to calling the question here? Anyone else? Just I see Michelle, but okay, I guess question's been called. So can we call the roll, one of the secretaries, on the substitute motion, which is basically that we support this package of bills.
Okay, all right. Greetings again, all. Please raise your hand if you are voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause. Michelle?
I wish I had the chance to explain. No, because I oppose.
Okay. Anyone, I guess, I don't see anyone else. Do you, Will, see anyone? No.
No, so it passes with 1 no. Thank you.
Okay. Craig, do you want to take this next one, this 5G one, which is a continuation of what we have done before?
Sure. So we received another application for a street pole attachment within 10 feet of an adjacent building. This one is on East 85th Street between 5th Avenue and Madison Avenue on the north side, mid-block. And again, the policy of the city and the Office of Technology and Innovation is that any street pole, this is like that narrow pole that gets added to an existing street light, not the larger towers that you see that are associated with Link NYC or Link 5G. These are the ones that go on top of the lights. That this any such proposed location or siting of one of these must actually go through the community board. We had passed resolutions in the past essentially saying that we did not want any new 5G equipment being installed until at this current time. And we had already passed a resolution a few months ago for other proposed sites just like this. So here we have another unanimous resolution disapproving of this application for a street pole on East 85th Street between 5th and Madison Avenues.
Yeah, I just want to add that the opposition to this has been growing, and I think they already pulled back about 4. There were 19 in our district. They already pulled back about 4 of the sites, and I think there's more to be done, and I think the momentum is going against this, and the city's just doing it for revenue purposes, obviously, and saying that we're underserved in our community for cell service is a little ridiculous. Barbara Rudder, I think, is next.
Call the question.
Okay, is there a second? I see people not having. Okay, Marco and Sherry. Anyone object to calling the question? I don't see any objections. So, Secretary, please call the roll.
Righty, if you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hand now. And seeing none, this will go down as unanimous disapproval.
Okay, I think we're done as far as transportation goes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Next, we will go to the Environment Committee, Sahar and Barbara.
Thanks, Russell. So we had a meeting recently, and Tommy West, the General Counsel from Borough President Mark Levine's office, came to present about the policies and initiatives for climate change. We had 2 resolutions, and I will do one of them, and Barbara will do the other one.
Oh, they were both unanimous. I don't know if people want to take them together. They were both unanimous.
That'd be interesting.
Okay. So they were both unanimous. The first one was about he's proposing a climate ready and well-managed new waterfront agency that would have jurisdiction over the waterfront assets and be accountable to the public. So it was a unanimous vote in agreement to that. And in addition to it, it also mentioned that to move all waterfront permitting to the Department of Buildings. So do you want to take them separately? Do you want, or do you?
So you have some hands. Ed has his hand up, and I imagine he's going to make a motion of that or call the question in that manner, but we'll.
Russell, you're reading my mind. Absolutely. Call the question.
On both together.
Of them or just
on both. If we can take both unanimous together,
Yeah,
I would make a motion to
great.
take them both together.
that would be great.
Marco seconds. Is anyone opposed to doing that?
Michelle, are you opposed?
Yeah, I have to tell you, I'm reading them and I don't have a full understanding. Resolution 2 is plain and simple, and I get that. Resolution 1, I would like a little more explanation, if you wouldn't mind, of what the discussion was in the committee before we go to the vote.
Yeah,
Which
sure.
part of it? The Department of Buildings? Which part of both parts of it?
All of Resolution 1.
Well, do you want to do it? I think I can answer it fairly quickly since I understood the issue. Do you want to do it, Sahar? Or
No, go ahead, Barbara. Why don't you do it?
okay. The issue is that there's 2 parts. The first part is, like many parts of our city, there are many, many agencies that affect the waterfront, and they found that things are just not getting done because of that. I mean, I could name things that I've been involved with where that's the case. So the idea of the borough president is to have one agency that is responsible for it. And the Department of Buildings, quite a surprise to me, is the one that's evidently set up the most to be able to do it. This was a resolution that both resolutions were ones that the borough president's policy person was very anxious for us to pass. And that's the reason for it. I don't know if you have any more questions, Michelle, but.
Yeah, so let me just say, so the resolution part 1 is calling for one single agency, and that would be the DOB. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. Well, it'd be within the DOB to give the, I forget what's the exact words to heart, to give one, but it would be a separate agency. No, it would not be the Department of Buildings. It would be a separate agency that would be developed.
Not yet created.
But created.
Yes, exactly, Michelle. So it hasn't been created, and that is actually the proposal, to have one agency that kind of governs everything. Just the permitting part goes to Department of Buildings. So that's just one clause that goes there, but this is a separate agency that will have everything encompassing. And that would actually bring in, like we always have different departments and different agencies working separately. So it would be very cohesive. And that's what he's
Do
proposing.
you have, just as for a little further, do you happen to know what agencies are involved now?
Oh gosh, it was the state. I think the state is involved.
Isn't it Small Business Services?
Sorry?
Yes, the Department of Small Business Services is involved.
The state is involved.
Yeah, so like DOT is involved in some parts, Parks is involved in some parts, EDC is involved in some parts. There's a myriad of agencies that if you're doing work along the waterfront, you have to go to Army Corps of Engineers as well, but that would probably not go away.
And the small businesses, that's the one at the moment handling all of this, like, the permitting. And that's why it was said that it should go under DOB, because that would make more sense.
I
Because
agree with that. I certainly don't see what small business has to do with this. But I can't imagine the Army Corps of Engineers and any others. I mean, I can't imagine how vast one single agency would have to be. You're relinquishing comments on park. When you talk about the resiliency.
I could tell you what's happened. I mean, just a little thing like on the Esplanade, when I got started working on the Esplanade, nothing was getting done because DOT would say that it's parks, parks would say it's the state, and nothing was getting done until they said, parks, you're the one that's responsible
And it would not affect jurisdiction of the Army Corps of Engineers. So I think
or state agencies as well.
Right. So ultimately, the question here basically is, Michelle, is your objection to taking the things together been resolved? If not, we'll just call the question on the first one. Are you
Call
okay
the
with taking
question
the
on
two
the
together?
first one.
Fine. Okay. So let's do that.
No,
Wait, Michelle, what?
We can't hear you, Michelle.
Michelle, you're muted. You are muted.
We still can't hear
sorry.
you.
Yeah, just take them separately if you would.
Fine.
Okay.
Okay, let's just do it. So yeah, let's
Okay.
call the roll on the first one.
Is Andrea?
I believe so, or maybe Felice.
I'll take it. I'm unmuted.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay, I'll do the next one then.
And if you are voting no, abstaining, or not voting for card. Chuck,
No,
Michelle,
Abstain.
okay. It passes, 1 no and 1 abstention. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And who wants to call for the second question? The second resolution, Heather? I'm sorry.
And have we, has someone called the question yet?
Madison is calling the question on it. Ed is seconding.
I think Ed just did.
Okay.
Anyone
So
opposed?
then,
No, go ahead.
is anyone voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause? Seeing none, the motion passes unanimously.
I'd like to take just 1 second to say that Lynn Strong was not only our co-chair, but she's been my friend and we will miss her. She was early days of her being the co-chair. We had a wonderful meeting from Roosevelt Island that she was arranged and so on. And I will miss Lynn very much and wish her the best along with it.
All right, let's go next to the Street Fairs Committee. So Barbara, you're still up, and
That's right. Okay.
Wilma also.
Is Wilma on?
She is. She just needs to unmute.
Okay.
While she's doing that, if you want to start.
Okay, then I'll start. It was, there's 3 applications on the agenda. There was 4, but the first one was dropped off because it's not a full street closure and they don't have to come in front of us. The first one, and we had somebody speaking about it before, was Birch Wathen, which is on 77th Street between 2nd and 3rd Avenue. A public member brought up the fact that there's construction going on. And I think there was 1 abstention that Wilma would talk about because of that. I did go and look, and I think Addison will talk about it too. And there is the construction of Lenox Hill that's on 3rd Avenue, not on 77th Street. And so that was the issue that was brought up. I don't know, Wilma, if you want to say anything more about that. And then Addison, I think, possibly we'll talk to it.
I was concerned, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was concerned about the safety of the children. And when this, somebody sent a video this evening on the construction and said that the construction is being done on the same area and block where they're gonna have this event. And for us to consider when we're voting, because it's a safety issue, a hazardous issue, pollution issue, and other things. So I abstained, and after seeing that video, I although I do know that Trustee Barber went to see it, and when she explained, but the video showed what they do at the time the children are gonna have this. So I'm gonna keep my abstention.
Okay. I don't know if Addison wants to say something. I know he
Yes,
is.
hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, Will, if you happen to have the diagram, just to screen share really quickly.
I do. Give me 1 second. So this is the diagram that you're looking for, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I just wanted to show sort of where this construction was happening, just to contextualize it. So as you can see, the red box is where the construction, I believe it's of the hospital, is happening. And so that spills a little bit onto 77th Street, but as you can see, the majority of construction is not happening on 77th Street. And so for me, I was okay with approving the street fair on that block, as well as we had some additional assurance that there's going to be security that was watching to make sure kids weren't running in to the construction zone or anything like that. So I was okay.
Thank you, Addison.
Rita has her hand up.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve. Call the question.
Thanks. Any seconds?
Yes. There are.
Okay, great.
Anyone opposed to calling the question? No. All right, go ahead.
Alrighty, so I think this is my vote. So if anyone is voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hand now.
Abstaining.
Okay.
Thank you, Wilma. Anyone else? Alrighty, so this is an approval with one abstention.
Do you want me to take
we're talking right now about the street fair, the Indonesian street fair.
Yes.
Or are we gonna do the birch? The birch.
No, that's the one we just voted on. It's the.
I'm sorry. The next one is the Convent of Sacred Heart Senior
Right.
Class Celebration, and that was two.
There was 3 yeses and one no and one abstain.
I abstained is because they already have an event on.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Wilma. That was the no vote. It was 2 yeses and 1 abstain and 1 no. It was a no, it was like a no position. I was wrong. I'm sorry, Wilma.
You can't explain why we said no?
Yeah.
Go
I
ahead.
can.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah.
The reason why I said no is because that school has an event on June 8th, just 4 days after they have another event. And more of the years that I've been doing the street fair, we never really allowed an event to happen with the same school or agency in 1 month. It's a school celebration, class celebration, and they have another one same month. So that's why I said I didn't vote for this.
Any other comments?
Michelle.
Yes, that struck me as well, what Wilma had said, but also I have to take issue with a whereas here that says the celebration is not a graduation. In fact, the presenter never yielded that point. So if there's a dispute as to our recollection, we may have to go back to the tape of the meeting to hear what exactly was said. But I asked him that repeatedly, and he was very cautious to use senior class celebration. And I said, well, is that a graduation? Well, it's a senior class celebration of life. He went all around And the bottom line is, it sounded very much like a graduation to me. They are setting up a tent and food on the street. And it's very much, it's the time of year that Sacred Heart has their graduation. They have come to us every June around this date and asked us for permission to have the graduation on the street. And because they were getting mixed votes, because some of us are in opposition to our public streets being used for that kind of a private event, the presenter this time was very cautious not to use that word. However, I have no question that it is a graduation, and he never explicitly said, this is not a graduation. He did not say that. So anyway, you have a 2-2, you know, decision here, shall I say. And I don't know how you feel about it, if this should be further clarified, if it should be postponed, or if you want to vote on it. I
Well, we
don't
can
know.
see if
Anyway,
somebody
those
wants
are
to
my
vote.
comments. Thank you
I
very
just have to say that it was said very definitively that it was a celebration, a graduation with first, and it was open to the public. The tent was a place where they were holding the food and not for anything else. And I think to say that there was a distrust in what somebody said is something that makes me, I would like to be on the record to say that makes me uncomfortable.
But Barbara, you just said it was graduation. Do you mean celebration or graduation?
Celebration, not graduation. I'm sorry. That he made it clear that it was a celebration. It was a street fair he said it's just to honor our seniors and not, there was nothing about a graduation that I heard. And I did go back and listen to the tape, and there was nothing that was said it was. And I just am uncomfortable in saying that somebody is saying something that's disingenuous. But that's my position, and that's why I put that in. However, anybody could vote any way they want. Any other questions?
So you have Craig
So,
later, then
Craig, then
first.
Peggy, then Addison, then Rita, then me.
Hi, I'd like to make a resolution, and if seconded, speak to it, please.
What's the
I'd like
resolution?
to, or I don't even know if I need to do it that way, but I want to put forward a resolution to support the application for this street fair. All
Is there a
right,
second?
I see seconds. Celebration, graduation, I think it's whether it's in close proximity to another event or whether it's a one-off event. We try to give deference to our community institutions when they want to have special events. And I think for 4 hours on one day, this is not a major inconvenience, and we should adhere to the request of the school. Thank you.
That's the second one in one week. They're doing two.
It's okay. Any other?
Addison.
Hands up? Will,
Yeah,
do you
I was
think-
gonna call.
Okay.
Sorry, I was just gonna call the question.
Okay. Right.
There's a second?
Second?
Yes,
I'll
Peggy,
second.
second. Okay. Anyone opposed to calling the question? Okay, good. Who's up?
Who's up?
Okay, for the substitute resolution to support the application for the street fair, is anyone voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause? Sahar?
No, I actually had a question, but
No,
it's like
it's
late
gold.
to ask.
Yeah, the question was gold already. Okay.
Okay, Michelle?
No.
Is there anybody else?
Wilma, are you
Okay,
voting?
I'm abstaining.
sorry, Wilma, you're abstaining?
Yeah.
Marco has his hand up too.
Marco?
Thank you. I'm going to abstain.
Okay, seeing no other votes, the motion passes.
Thank you. And do you want to do the Indonesian one?
No, go ahead.
It's unanimous, was unanimous.
Yes.
Out for the Indonesian? Anybody want to call the question?
Mrs.
Ms.
Brown.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Call the question, please.
Several seconds. No one's opposed.
Right, thanks.
Andrea?
Okay, greetings again. Please raise your hand if you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause. I see no hands, so this resolution passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Next, let's go to the Street Life Committee and Abraham.
Abraham, you can unmute.
Great, thank you very much. So for Street Life, we had, bear with me one moment. There we go. For Street Life, we had unanimous resolutions for the applications that we had, as well as 2 additional resolutions. I see several hands. I will go with Marcos, who I see first.
I would like to call the all unanimous decisions.
Great, thank you.
Barbara second.
Yep, I see Barbara seconding. Okay.
Is anyone opposed to taking them all together?
Okay, seeing none, then secretaries, please take all of the unanimous together.
Alrighty, if you're voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause, please raise your hand now. And seeing none, these will go down as unanimous votes.
Great, thank you very much. So just to clarify, that was for all of the individual applications, correct? And then we had 2, we had the separate resolutions. One was under old business, which was a resolution where the committee was calling on the Department of Transportation to take all steps necessary to enforce its rules and regulations with regards to sidewalk, cafe, and enclosures. So that one of the key concerns being that it was encroaching on the sidewalks, and that was approved 7-0.
Call the question.
Okay, great. Oh, great. I
Mrs.
see
Brown,
all in favor. Anyone opposed? If not, then I would say we call the question and go to the secretaries unless someone's opposed.
Is there anybody voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause? Seeing none, the motion is unanimously approved.
Great, thank you. And then our next resolution was under new business. And this was a discussion about the length of time it takes for the SLA to approve liquor licenses. And while there is a process for temporary liquor license, it does not cover all aspects. So we have a resolution to call on the SLA to take all steps to reduce the time it takes to approve liquor licenses to avoid the negative effect that the long delay is having on applicants seeking to operate food and drink establishments. Okay, I see several hands. Mrs. Brown.
Thank you. Call the question, please.
Okay, great. I'm seeing several. Okay, great. In that case, does anyone approve? Does anyone object? Okay, then in that case, I'd say we can go to the roll on this one as well.
Okay, greetings again. Please raise your hand if you are voting no, abstaining, or not voting for cause. Seeing no hands, this passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so a quick item of old business. So last month, I mentioned that Sahar is very kindly hosting a tea on June 4th for board members. And I know that more people are attending than have RSVP'd so far, so we clearly have it would be great if more folks could let us know one way or another whether you're attending. And it would be great to see as many folks there as can make it, because as I mentioned last time, the social events we have are always fun and really are a good way to get to know folks a little better, particularly when we've been on Zoom for so long. It's nice to be together in person, and it's going to be a very nice event. And I will just turn it over to Sahar as well.
Thank you so much. Yes, I would love to have all of you join me. It's, as you know, Russell just mentioned, it's on June 4th. Time is 4 to 6:30. Would love to have all of you, welcome you to my place. I'm like, you know, I joined the board a year ago, and I have been just attending meetings over Zoom. And so I can say, as a new member, you know, relatively, that it's, you know, it's kind of those connections that we form by meeting in person that sadly lack when we just do Zoom meetings. So I really hope that, you know, all of you will join and come and have a good time together. And Russell was also mentioning that we have these new members coming in this year, and they would also be able to join us on that day. So it would just be great to meet old and new friends, and also to invite the new members that are joining this year. So please do RSVP so that I have a head count and know the details, and I can plan the evening accordingly.
Thank you. So yes, it is. It's a chance to get to know the new members even before our first meeting with all of them. So, excellent. All right. I think that's it for old business, and not aware of any new business. I'm going to call on Mrs. Brown.
Yes. Do we have the names? Can you share the names of the new members, the new board members?
I think we'll do that over email, and I think Will will handle that. That's going to be part of all of the onboarding that we do.
Okay. Well, then motion to adjourn.
Seconded. Very good. Excellent. All right. Thank you guys very much. Good meeting, and I will see you all soon. Have a good night.
You too. Good night, everybody. Stay